Marketing on Snapchat is a little unusual and it's centered around the story feature. The first thing you should know is what a story actually is, and this requires understanding a little bit of snapshot terminology if you haven't already learned it. A snap is a video or a picture that you send to a specific person. Although you certainly can advertise with snaps, they're only going to go to one person at a time and they disappear in no more than 10 seconds. This makes it almost unusable as a marketing tool, even if it were lucrative to send snaps to your existing friends list. Of course, it's not lucrative and that's the point, so we won't worry too much about snaps in this video. However, we are going to discuss stories. The difference between a story and a snap is that stories contain multiple images and video, and they stay available for viewing for 24 hours. The other difference is that while you can send snaps just to people on your friends list, or the rare person that is enabled everyone to send them snaps, your stories can be viewed by anyone you choose. You can set your account to allow anyone to view your stories. Since stories can be shared, they are also a great marketing strategy. So, how do you set your account so that everyone can view your stories? Well, this is something, as you may have guessed, that can be done in your settings menu. So, swipe down and when you get to the page where it allows you to see who's added you, click on the settings gear in the top right. Then go down to where you can change both who can send you snaps and who can view your stories. So, now you're ready to start sharing stories on Snapchat. You may not know how to build a story yet, but that's okay because we're going to cover that later in the video. Make sure that you let other social media networks know when you post a story because you'll have Snapchat users on those networks and they will log in and check out your story. If your story is geared towards some sort of product or service, then you definitely want as many people viewing it as possible, so don't just rely on Snapchat to get views. However, keep in mind to always be entertaining so that users will want to share your story with others and will come back for the next one. If you want to be successful in marketing on Snapchat, then you're going to need to get a following. Just like with your Twitter and Facebook followers, the more people that you have following you, the higher the chances that other people will follow you. This video will give you some tips on getting your first followers on Snapchat, as well as some things not to do to get followers. The first thing that you want to do is make sure that everything that you're posting is creative and fun and shows off your artistic expressions. Posting boring content with text that never changes over the same boring videos of products are going to get you exactly nowhere with Snapchat. But pictures of people using your product in unconventional ways, with your caption and emojis, now that's going to get people's interest and make them want to share your content. We discussed this earlier, but it might be useful to understand exactly how you should use your social networks to get Snapchat followers. The best way to do this is to come up with compelling things to post on your Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, or whatever social network you're using. These are teaser items such as a promo code within a story that you can only get if you go to Snapchat. Place your Snap code or Snapchat information anywhere that you can. Post it on your website, around your store if you have one, and anywhere else that you can think of where people that you want to influence will be willing to join Snapchat or are already using it. You also put it on your business cards, put a link to it in your email, and even advertise on forums that are in your industry. Do you know a YouTuber or someone who has a large following online but isn't necessarily a Hollywood celebrity? Do you think there's someone who would be interested in your product or service? You might be able to leverage influencers by offering them something special that they will almost always talk about afterwards, and you can get followers from that. There are a few things that you shouldn't do to get followers on Snapchat. One of them is to use one of the services offered on websites like Fiverr that promise to get you thousands of followers. For one thing, they're not going to buy anything from you and may not even have real people behind them. Also, you might get your Snapchat account banned by doing so at some point in the future. You should also try not to be boring and make sure that you're accessible in some way, because users don't want a shadowy face in the background. They want a real live human being behind your company that they can interact with. You're going to use stories to do more than advertise your products or services. Think of a story like a viral video. You know, if you make it overly promotional, it's not going to work. You want something clever, something that no one has ever seen, and something that evokes emotion in a human being. This will make them want to share with their friends, and it will give you the exposure that you're looking for. But creating good stories will also make people want to follow you, so every time you create a story, keep in mind that you're both trying to get people to follow you and you're trying to get your product or service out there. If you want to know how to create a great Snapchat story, then go online and look at some of the best ones that have ever been made. There are lots of Snapchat stories that have been featured on websites like BuzzFeed, Mashable, or even some of the more conventional media out there. As you look through those Snapchat stories and laugh, try to think of ways in which you can incorporate a similar campaign on your own Snapchat account that will both be entertaining and promote your product or service a little. Stories can not only be told in photos, they can also include video. You can come up with a clever idea to pair the video and the snapshots if you like. There are lots of ways to create a good story, but it starts with a good idea. Sit down with employees or even your friends and try to come up with a Snapchat story that would be funny. Use anything for inspiration. Go to Google and search and type in a random word and look at the images that come up with that word. Look around your environment and see if there's anything there that amuses you. Think about the last thing that you found funny and why you liked it. There are lots of ways to come up with great ideas for stories. Sit down and storyboard your story, which means that you decide which order your snaps and videos are going to go in before you even take them in some cases. Then make sure that you have the right order and a compelling story that's going to keep people clicking the next button. Remember, just like with YouTube videos, you shouldn't go over a few minutes in length, otherwise people are going to get bored. Now you can get to work making great stories on Snapchat. One thing you may be interested in knowing about is Snapchat's partner program called Discover. Now, this program is pretty much out of reach of anyone who isn't a major brand because of the $750,000 a day price tag. But there are actually other ways to get on Discover than by being a partner with Snapchat. Some of the major brands are letting other brands advertise on their Discover space for a lot less than they're paying for their Discover spot. This is a way for the brands that are advertising on Discover to get back some of the money that they're spending. And it's a great way for anyone with about $50,000 to spend to get a huge amount of exposure. For smaller brands, unfortunately, there is nothing yet that they can do to start advertising with Snapchat. There would have to be some sort of major overhaul to the application if they were going to start allowing people to advertise on snaps and videos and other places around the site. Right now, there's nothing that is the equivalent of Facebook advertising for small businesses and people with products or services to promote, but that may be coming in the future. Snapchat has only recently been able to get enough followers to command the kind of rates that they're getting from their Discover program. So the bottom line here is, if you have a great deal of money to spend on advertising, then Snapchat may be exactly what you need, or at least advertising on one of the brands that are currently on or will be on Snapchat's Discover program in the near future. If you have a small business or you just want to advertise products and services, then you should use Snapchat for marketing purposes in the way that we discussed in this video series, rather than advertising directly on the platform. In this video, we're going to discuss a couple of ways that you can use live events to get followers to your Snapchat account. The first thing that you should do is open up your Snapchat app and look where the Discover page is. You'll see a place where it says Live, and then you'll find stories below that. Now, don't get confused by this live event feature that Snapchat has. They do a thing called Our Story, where they pick a live event that's going on and then take people's snaps and video from that event and build a curated story that everyone can see regardless of who they're following. This is not the type of live event that we will be discussing in this video. The type of live event that you want to use Snapchat for is the kind of live event where your company is doing something exciting that customers can attend. You can hold these events whenever you like, and you can use Snapchat to both bring people to your live event and convince people that are already at your live event to sign up and follow you on Snapchat. The way that you get people from your Snapchat to your live event is fairly straightforward. Just build a story using snaps in that event and invite people out. Just remember, stories last for 24 hours, so the best way for you to do a live event with Snapchat stories is to have the story begin before the live event starts, 24 hours before the start of your live event perhaps. Then you can start to build a brand new story when the event starts, and people will be able to check out live images and video from the event. Obviously, this is a great way to get people to your event because you not only get people who have to prepare for the event and are willing to come 24 hours after they've heard about it, but you also get people who are more of the right here, right now, fly by the seat of your pants variety. In other words, people who will come to your live event at very short notice. It's also worth noting that this will only work if you have followers in the same city that you're doing the event in, and if you are a large brand and you're in a large city, then this is usually not a problem. For small businesses, many of their followers will have followed them by coming into their brick and mortar store, and so they won't have a problem either. In fact, the only people who are going to have a problem are the people who do not have a brick and mortar store and only work online, but have a very small business and not a huge Snapchat following. Holding a live event will be very poorly attended because very few of your Snapchat followers are likely to be in that particular area. In either case, whether you are convincing people to sign up and follow you on Snapchat from the live event, or you're trying to convince followers in that area to come to your live event, you should definitely use some sort of promotion, coupon, or giveaway to entice them.